All right. We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, John and I have the distinct pleasure of being joined by Destructo Jugo. How you doing today, Ate?
I'm good, brother. How are you? Thank you guys for having me on. I'm really excited to be here.
John, so Ate, we have this guy who always comments. I don't know if can you see the comment there by Matt Powell? Do you see that in the chat?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's commented 3 or 4 times. He always comments before our live starts. So he's not watching. We're at 0 now. We just started. But he always comments like a little or hours. He comments like 5 hours ago. But he says, you guys probably want to trans my kids so much. Go ahead and try. Bro, what the fuck is wrong with you? Matt Powell. I have last time he commented, what did he say last time, John? Last episode.
It was something about like we can't find the missing link from humans to apes, something like that.
Yeah. Really? Last time he said if your East Coast liberal elite evolution is true, how come we haven't found the missing link between humans and apes? And look, Matt, this guy is a content creator. Like John looked up his channel. He has like thousands of followers. Yeah, right. No, right. So look, Matt Powell, this is an official invitation for you to join us on the Left Wing Pod. We just want to talk, bro. We just want to talk.
We just want to know what's going on. This is an interview.
We're not going to jump you. I swear to God.
This come outside. This is not set up. I'm not going to have any gotcha questions. I just want to know what the fuck is going on. That's what I got to know about. What about you, John? Like, are you in on this? I would have to have this conversation.
I'm so in on this. I would love to. It's just like an anthropological study, like what's going on in this guy's head that he's so worried about us. We've never even really like discussed trans topics. Like this is not even like a thing.
Yeah,
we might have had one episode at one point about it. Like it's not something we talk about often.
It's so weird.
Did you see Tweedleddee's comment?
Yeah, the comment is even funnier than the response is even funnier than the comment.
Tweedledee says, Powell official, all caps, I will trans your kids and I will trans your wife, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. Don't bother fighting it. Make it easy on yourself and accept the inevitable. Tweedledee, this is why we love you, my man. This is why weird fucking shit.
These people can't understand like sarcasm, so I know that he's going to take that as a legitimate threat upon his safety. Like I know he's going to be looking at that and be like, see, look what they said about transing my wife. Like it's going to be like an actual big deal.
I would love to like see like an actual like courtroom scene where he's like suing that. He's like, this is what's it called? It's not assault, whatever. But he's like, this is a threat. It's like, explain to me exactly what transing your wife would mean. Like, what does that mean?
He's there stuttering and shit. He's like, well, it means
if I wanted to trans your wife, how would I actually logistically carry that out?
Matt Powell, we not only transing your kids and your wife, we are transing you, my guy. We're going for the hat trick right here. We're getting it all done, bro. Yeah. We're gonna trans Matt Powell. If it's the last thing we do, it's gonna be a pretty good time. Okay, yeah, all right. We've got a fun slate. Say what?
I said, look over your shoulder, man. Like, really.
We're looking over your shoulder, Matt Powell, but it's only because we got your back.
One day you're gonna look down, your dick won't be there anymore. You're gonna wonder what happened. It'll have been us.
Tell him it was me.
Just like inject him with estrogen shots in his sleep. It's just like continuously.
Yeah. And Matt Powell, don't take this the wrong way. We don't like spend all of our time thinking about your genitalia. I don't want you to think that's where we're going here. I am not gay. I have had sex with a man one time, but there's only one time. It was your dad, so that's something there. And I gotta tell you, brother, he loved it. He loved every second. I didn't know it was possible for a man to spread his legs that wide. That was, and listen, I enjoyed it too. I mean, like, Your dad's face
You
looked like a
talking about
Cinnabon by the time I was finished. Like I said, it was a good time.
Oh,
So,
that's nuts.
yeah, it was pretty fun. And the worst part about it is the guy just like he won't stop calling me. I mean, he's always leaving these pathetic messages about how he can't live without me and his life is ruined because his son's such a fucking disappointment. So look, man, just for both our sakes, like build your relationship up with your dad before you start bothering us. Like do something useful.
Yeah, call him sometimes, man.
Call the old man, please do something. All right. We actually do have a show planned today, folks. We actually do have some show to go over. So what do we want to talk about first? Like, every topic here is good, I think, John. Or no, Ate, which one interests you the most? Well, I know which one interests you the most. But
I don't know if I want to talk about that one first, though. I do.
Yeah, that seems like a last episode, a last topic one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think actually the border situation with Biden actually rings most fascinating to me for a couple of reasons. So I actually do want to get into that.
Man, that is the saddest one, I think. Or well, no, it's not. It's second. It's close, but it's
in terms of like actual effect, it's not the saddest. But in terms of like just what makes me personally saddest, it's that.
Yeah. I think in terms of what it says about the Democratic Party is what makes it most sad, and what it says about our country as a whole actually like is really depressing.
It really is. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up the article we have for it here. All right, so what we're talking about, folks, is an executive order that Biden signed to just make himself seem more like Trump. He's signing executive order drastically tightening the border. And facing mounting political pressure over the migrant influx of the southern border, President Biden on Tuesday signed an executive action that will temporarily shut down asylum requirements once the average number of daily encounters tops 2,500 between official ports of entry. I love this line right here. The border is not a political issue to be weaponized. Fuck you. What the hell are you talking about? That's exactly what this is, right?
What is more of a political issue than the border? I honestly can't think of a more like political issue. There's no other category that borders
have been a political issue since civilizations have existed. I sincerely don't know what he means by that.
It's that is a good point. Say when they're just like, oh, we should be above this because I don't want to talk about it because I don't have ground to stand on. So I'm just going to accuse you of weaponizing this.
Yeah, borders are inherently political, like definitionally so. They don't exist in nature. Yeah. They're only created by political entities, you know? The shutdown would go into effect immediately since that threshold has already been met, a senior administration official said. The border would reopen only once that number falls to 1,500. Senior officials on Tuesday said in a call that reporters that individuals across the southern border unlawfully or without authorization will generally be ineligible for asylum, absent exceptional compelling circumstances, unless they are accepted by the proclamation. And the part right here that stood out to me, right here, the officials said that migrants who don't meet the requirements of having a credible fear when they apply for asylum will be immediately removable. And they anticipate that we will be removing those individuals in matters of days, if not hours. The White House conveyed details of the long-awaited move to lawmakers on Monday, but confirmed details of the executive action Tuesday morning ahead of planned remarks by the president in the East Room of the White House. So, John, what do you think? Good thing, bad thing? What is your verdict here?
It's fucking fantastic. I love deporting refugees. Refugees have had it too good for too long, TJ, and we need to really stick it to them. It's funny. So like that, what you just said that really stuck out to you. It's actually worse than what this article described, because I read the actual executive order and the ICE, whatever we call them, shock troopers, aren't supposed to ask about the fears that they are supposed to just wait for them to say something, and if they don't say something, kick them out. It is literally a policy that is put in place that what will happen is you're requiring refugees who are seeking asylum to have an understanding of the words that they are supposed to say. By the way, they probably don't speak English, most likely based on where they're coming from. So they're supposed to somehow communicate specific words to these Border Patrol officers, which they need to have known, or else they're going to get deported, and they're not going to know why. And it doesn't make any. If your goal was to make sure that, like our criminal justice system, our goal is set up and designed so that people who are innocent do not go to jail. It is designed that it would rather put 10 guilty criminals on the streets than have one innocent person go to jail. That is the way it is designed. And this is designed the opposite. The way this is designed, it's designed so that we kick out the maximum number of illegal immigrants and also some legal asylum seekers, which doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand how a pro-immigration party ostensibly sets up a system through executive order where the primary goal is to reduce illegal immigration and not to protect asylum seekers and refugees. It doesn't make sense to me. And I genuinely, like, when I'm thinking about this, it pisses me off. But I wonder what actual, like, boots on the ground, normal, moderate Democrats actually want with immigration. Like, are like Biden stands like happy about this? Are they like, do they just not know that we're deporting asylum seekers? Like, I genuinely don't know what the actual moderate Democrat position is on immigration anymore. What do you think, Destructo?
It's on 2 points. One, first, I fully agree. And also there's something so inherently dystopian about the idea, because I'm just imagining how that plays out in best case scenario. The idea that as a refugee, you have to sit there in front of these like police officials, these big, these white men staring at you, whatever the case may be, and you have to actively beg for your life. You have to beg to survive in order for them to like grant you asylum. There's something that, and then that's like written into the document. I find that so incredibly dystopian in a really strange way, because they know exactly what they're doing by saying that they're not going to ask and you have to say it. It's like incredibly humiliating just to think about. Like, I couldn't possibly imagine having come all that way, and then here I am at this detention center, and I have to like lose my last shred of dignity by standing there in front of this government official and pleading for him to let me like stay. And also to talk about the moderate Democratic position on this, at least from what I've seen on Twitter, is like overwhelming support. I think it's really interesting that there's like two things. One of two things are going on here when it comes to like what Biden's doing in Gaza, what Biden's doing at the border, and just like what the Democrats are doing in general. Either people are doubling down and like are going with everything Biden says, or they are radicalizing to the left, like further. I've only seen like one of two reactions from like non-right wingers. It's either like, oh, everything's fine, I'm going to continue moving along the right as so long as Biden continues to move along the right, and other people with like humanity and empathy being further radicalized away from the Democratic Party from these types of situations. And so I think it's a generational divide for the most part. Like, I haven't seen people around my age being like, yeah, this is good. But like, I think that's the reality.
This thing with Biden here. The first thing is that I'm kind of upset with myself for being surprised by this. I shouldn't have been surprised. This is the least surprising thing that I could actually figure when I think back to not even distant history, just recent history, when Biden pushed forward that bill that Republican shot down to help out Trump. And the fact that Biden didn't really alter a whole lot of Trump's border policies in the first place, besides, ending the more draconian ones they implemented during COVID, and just moving on from there. And I'll tell you, I'm glad you brought up that thing about the journey it takes to get to the United States from wherever these folks are coming from. And, you have the language barrier, you're exhausted, you're terrified, you're entering a new fucking country. It's got to be incredibly stressful.
You probably had to cross through barbed wire for reasons that are just completely ununderstandable to you.
Yeah. And then you get sent back for some like procedural nonsense or something. It's insanity. And the fact that I remember reading that they want to make it actually harder for the asylum claim. So even if you get there and you say, listen, my city is involved in this gang war that's taking us, like, yeah, that's not good enough. It's like, yeah, that's not good enough. We're just going to, and they said they would send you back that day or within hours. They would send you back. Like, that is it's just purposefully cruel. I once again, I'm upset about myself for being surprised by this. But here's the really dark part. The really dark part is, John, you were asking, what's the standard Democrat answer to this? And I think the standard Democrat answer is Biden is outmaneuvering the Republicans, and he's beating them at their own game. And this is what really gets me. It just might work. It's not outside the bounds of possibility, because the people who are already going to vote for Biden, this isn't going to move a lot of them. It's not, because they've already kind of put up with what Biden's been doing the last 4 years anyway. And the border has never been, something that Biden's been super progressive on. So it's not that shocking. And so the Republicans aren't going to vote for Biden either. But the people who, like the morons who haven't picked a side in all this, this actually could be a good signal to them. Like, John, you and I were talking yesterday about the person who just doesn't pay a whole lot of attention to this. If you're a person who doesn't follow this at all, and then you see that Biden wanted a tough border bill and the Republicans shot it down, and they said it, they admit they shot it down. And then Biden says, okay, I'll act on myself and I'm going to be tough on the border. It's not outside the bounds of possibility that could work. I don't think it's a wild assumption to say that it could benefit him. What do you think?
So you're saying this could sway the middle grounders?
Yeah, that's what I think it's for. That's what it's not for. Who else could it possibly be for? I don't think it's going to persuade any conservatives or any Biden voters, but I think it could be a message to middle grounders. Yeah.
Okay, John, sorry for interrupting you.
No, you're fine. I agree with some of what you're saying, TJ, and disagree with others. So first, when you said that this didn't come as a surprise to you, I actually disagree with that. Over the course of Biden's presidency, now that this is happening, it doesn't come as a surprise to me. But before Biden's presidency, I would have thought he would have been I didn't think he'd be moving to Trump's right on immigration.
Yeah. I meant during. During.
Yeah. During, like, having seen everything that's happened, this makes perfect sense. But like going into it, Biden called the policy of deporting asylum seekers inhumane when Trump was like Biden himself, out of his own mouth, he said that this policy was inhumane. And like, I know that I don't expect, logical consistency from my elected representatives, but like, that's a pretty harsh critique. That, like, it feels like if you even actually believe that in the slightest, you wouldn't do anything even similar to it. And here he is. I do agree with you that the headlines, Biden implements harsh immigration restrictions without Republicans because they wouldn't join him, is probably effective with the median average voter. It's sad that is the case, but it is probably true. However, my issue with it is, okay, if that was the goal, why'd you have to deport the asylum seekers? Because the average median voter doesn't even know what the fuck that means. You didn't need to do that in order to get that headline. Like it does. Not a single Republican is going to vote for you now because you're doing it.
No,
not a single Democrat isn't going. I mean, the people who you were trying to court and hang on to their vote, you're just continuing to kick them while they're down. And I don't know what that addition does for you. Like you could have done random bullshit. It doesn't matter. Like, we know that it doesn't actually matter. So why be so punitive? It seems like this is what you actually want as a human. You want to do something that you called inhumane, which is mind blowing to me. What do you think?
I think situation like this, especially with the way you describe it, always brings me back to what was it like Democratic representative who had the TikTok? What was his name? Like Jeff something.
No, I don't remember his name. I know you're talking about. I don't remember his name though.
Yeah, so I used to take a lot of like value from a lot of his videos, and in one of the videos he talked about how it's like he told us pretty much what we already knew, that it's all a game, right? Like when you see Democrat politicians and Republican politicians get into these big public feuds where they call each other names and morally grandstand on each other, that they behind the scenes they're shaking hands, they're going to dinner, they're part of committees, they're making decisions together. And so I feel like, strategically speaking, when Biden was talking about Trump denying asylum to asylum seekers being inhumane, it was a political move more than it was anything else. And it seemed at the time that there was a little hope for like the Democratic Party to actually be human beings, but I think taking a step back and sort of looking at it holistically makes it clear that like Biden was always going, like, I was never shocked when I heard this news. It's only sad to me because I just don't think it's the right idea politically for a president who's already in this much deep water with the situation in Gaza, with the way he's handling an active genocide. I just didn't expect him to like double down on more inhumane policies. But as a sort of like policy that Biden as a politician signed off on, wasn't entirely shocked. I kind of felt as though that the Democrats, or at the very least the higher up Democrats, and I don't mean like local level, but at the very least like the bigger ones, are largely in line with Republicans in most things, even if they say they're not. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. When it comes, go ahead, John.
No, please, you go.
Oh, yeah. When it comes to the border, yeah. I mean, what has been the actual Democratic policy when it's come to the border over the last like 10 years? The best answer you can get is comprehensive immigration reform. It's like this nebulous thing that they always say. And we always talk about, path to citizenship. We talk about DACA. All right, I'm not gonna get on DACA. Like DACA is one that just blows my mind. That it's incredible that we still have these people. For those who don't know, DACA stands for Delayed Action for Childhood Arrivals, I think, and basically it refers to people who came with their parents as undocumented immigrants to the United States when they were children. And so, these people have been in the United States since they were 3 years old. English is the only language they speak. The United States is the only country they know. So although they're technically illegal, undocumented citizens or undocumented migrants, sending them anywhere else would be cruel because you're sending them to a completely unfamiliar place where they may not have any connections at all. And so we don't deport them, but we don't give them legal status either. And they're just stuck in this limbo. And they were like, Obama tried to get something through for DACA people and, shut down. Trump wasn't too excited about he used it as a bargaining chip. And that's the best thing I can point to is that it's been like 10, 15 years of this DACA thing, and no one's done anything about it. And it's not a number one priority for anyone to fix. And which brings me back to what you said, John, is when you said that what Biden was talking about Trump's policies, how bad they were. The mistake you made is that you assumed that Biden saying it was inhumane, he was saying that in a pejorative way. He probably wasn't. He was like, yeah, this is inhumane. I got to get in on that. That sounds so like I got to get on that. So it's going to be a good ass time right here. So yeah, that's my thought. Oh, before we go to John, was it Jeff Jackson, I say? Was that the congressman?
Yes.
Yes,
okay. It was.
Cool. Thank you, Ben. All right. Sorry, John. Go ahead.
So I'm going to put on this is like tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, but I honestly don't think it is. I think I have a pretty good read on the situation. I think that Democrats are moving to the right on immigration. I think that they want to do that, and I think that the reason they want to do that is climate change. I think that very similarly to how we saw in France, it was like a year ago, where they proactively raised the retirement age because they saw, hey, coming down the line here, if we don't raise the retirement age, we're going to be demographically fucked because we have we don't have enough young people to replace the old people, and we need people to stay working or else there's going to be an imbalance. And we don't necessarily want to do this because we're the Labor Party of the people, but if we don't do this, we would have to implement far more progressive reform to make this a sustainable model, and we're clearly not going to do that, so we're going to scoot over to the right. And that's exactly what's happening here, but with climate change. Just like insurance companies know, Democrats know that in 20, 30 years, we are going to have mass climate migration. The middle of the world is fucked. They're going to be dying, and they're going to need to travel north in order to survive. And there's three things we can do about that. We can either fucking do something about climate change, which they're not going to do clearly. We can accept those refugees in, like, if we had current refugee status laws, like international laws, we would have to accept them. And fuck no, they don't want to do that. So the only possible remaining option is C, move to the right on immigration and close down the border and keep people out of our country by force. And that's the option that it looks like they are planning to choose. It saddens me But I really think that that's exactly what's going, because there is no actual explanation for why they would do this. When I was growing up, they were the pro-immigration party, and now it's like they were also kind of the anti-war party, and that changed. And I think this is going to change in the same way, where both parties are just the same on this now.
I actually really like that theory. I like that theory specifically because it acknowledges that, like, as a result of climate change, governments around the world, especially the sort of imperial core governments, are going to be faced with a choice to whether or not, like, in order to reverse what's going on, they're going to have to either like move right or completely restructure the way the societies are functioning, like in progressive ways. And it's so crazy to see that theory, I think, is happening in real time, where governments are actively choosing just like fascism, because the world is ending in a lot of ways, like environmentally speaking. And it's so clear for anybody that sort of understands what's going on that the root cause of that is capitalism and imperialism. And it has roots in all of these the way that these governments function. And I'm sure the politicians know that, like, they're fully aware. And so, yeah, I don't even think that's much of like a conspiracy theory. I think it's just like a pattern recognition. Like, it's just a way of recognizing how these governments, it's not just in the United States, but like in Europe, how they've all been moving right in their leaders and their policies and so on.
All right, that's good right there. I had something to add, but it's kind of weird, so I wanted to tack on. First, Ben says, I have a tinfoil hat conspiracy about Nazis and governments. Do I want to hear it? Of course we want to hear it, Ben. Of course we do. Like, you don't have to ask.
What show do you think this is? You think you're on Matt Powell officials page?
Where only the truth abides. He wouldn't talk about conspiracies. So we're talking about how governments are going to try to face this issue of lack of workers and everything in the future, and how that's going to affect the economy and everything. And what I was thinking of is the Republicans. They're kind of looking at this problem in that, hey, we're not going to have, people aren't having enough babies, so they're trying to force these like abortion things. Like, that's their way to get this, that we need to make sure we have more kids, and we that's the first order of business. Second order of business, we need to make sure they're the right kind of kids, if you know what I mean. That's kind of how Republicans are going with right there. And I saw another creepy one about this because this problem isn't just facing the United States. Like, every industrialized nation faces this. I hesitate to call it a problem. Like, it's not really as big a problem as they're making it. Because what they're saying is that the problem is that, well, we won't have enough workers to create enough money to fund the care, the medical care, and the social support of old people. It's not like the money doesn't exist. It does. Yeah, I mean, it does. It's not like the money just evaporates into thin air. We don't have the workers. What they're worried about is the workers having too much power, because you'll end up with, I don't know if you guys, I know a lot of you guys are younger, so you may not have been around for the bubonic plague, but when that happened, so old folks like me, we remember what it was like when the bubonic plague hit. And the bubonic plague, it wiped out like a third of the population of Europe. I mean, it was just imagine 1 out of every 3 people you know dying. And after the plague was over, there was a drastic shortage of workers, where that you people had, jobs that had to be done, but not enough people to fill it, which gave a ton of power to just regular ass peasants who had no power before. Now they were in control of, hey, well, you want me to work for you instead of the other guy, you need to pay me more. And that was like the beginning of, an ancient version of the middle class. That is the last thing the capitalists want. They do not want a small population of workers to have that leverage over them. And they're going to do everything in their power to try to stop this 20, 30 years in advance. And the way the Republicans are doing is super creepy. South Korea is doing an even creepier one. I saw this yesterday. It blew my mind. It actually took me a while to figure out what they were talking about, because it was so foreign concept to me, is that there was like, okay, so we are an industrialized nation. Every time a nation industrializes and we expand rights and give rights to women, and women have reproductive rights and everything, birth rates go down. That every time, there's no way around it. And even if you put in policies that encourage families, giving people enough money to buy a house and healthcare and childcare, women don't want to have 8 kids. Like that's they just don't want to do it. That's
Right.
it turns out that given the option,
Yeah.
they're like, no, I'll
Turns
have
out
one,
they
maybe
wanted to
2.
do that in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they so given when they have control over this, they're not having enough kids for the capitalists. So they're like, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Boys tend to date younger girls, but they spend all their time with the same age girl. So you graduated 18, and all the girls in your class are 18. When
Right.
if you're 18-year-old, you're probably more likely to date a 16-year-old. So here's what we'll do: we'll send the girls to school early. The girls will start school like 2 years. I know they'll start school 2 years earlier than the boys. So when you're a 15-year-old boy, the girls in your class will be 13. And you'll be more likely to marry them and have kids. It was like, it took a while for me to understand what they was like. This is super fucked up, man. Like it was
That's
like,
incredible.
it didn't sound real. I swear to God, this is actually what they
TJ,
said, but it's a pretty.
There is a lot of truth to what you're saying. I'm trying to look to see if I have the statistics on this on hand, but it is legitimately that if you look at the declining birth rates, hold on, that half of the decline in birth rates in the US is just from teenagers not getting pregnant anymore. Like half of the decline in birth rates is just teenage girls not getting pregnant. And like it's actually, it shocked me as someone who like follows this up. Like I thought it was much more about just people being richer and wealthier countries. It's a natural thing. Who fucking knows? No, it's because they just aren't having kids as teenagers anymore because we have better healthcare. We have better contraceptive access. We have all of these things. And so even women who want to have kids, sex ed, even women who want to have kids, they end up having 2 kids because they started at a reasonable time. Even at like an early age would be like, 23, 24. It'd be pretty young to start having kids, but you do that, and then you have one at 23, 24, you have one at like 28, 29, maybe you have a third one in your 30s, but probably fucking not. But like back in the day, you had your first one at 17, and you had your second one at 23, and then you had your third one at 26, and then you had like 4 kids before you were 30. And that's the reason for the decline. It's a good thing. It's only a problem because of the demographic shift, which there are other ways to solve that problem. It's just that the ruling class definitely doesn't want those ways to happen.
Yeah. Pretty bizarre shit.
I find that so weird. Is that something that is happening only in South Korea, or are like the other Eastern Asian countries starting to implement that?
I only saw the article yesterday or the day before where they now I don't think they have implemented it. They just wrote that a proposal to implement it, and that was another weird thing too. It wasn't even from like a South Korean politician. It came from like their equivalent of like the Office of Budget Management or something. It was just like a bunch of bureaucrats. It weren't even ideologues. Like, we cracked the code. We need to get more pregnant 17-year-olds. It's like, folks, what it is.
Like they came to that conclusion.
It does make sense. Like, I think they're correct. I think the policy will achieve its goal. Yeah.
Like on a technical level.
Say what? I'll say.
Like on a technical level, like it's, you know what I mean? But nobody wants to be the person like standing on the podium arguing for a younger woman to enter class with older adults. Like nobody wants to do that.
It's why it's like where we talk about when people shit on liberal arts education. It's like, no, it's just STEM. Like, no, there's a reason that we need to do humanities and stuff, so people don't do shit like this right here, where it's like, like we have AI saying, oh, how do we solve crime in Los Angeles? Well, kill all the people, no more crime. Like, it's exactly like that. It's what they're doing. It's like there's no humanity in this whatsoever. It's some wild fucking shit.
And to loop it back onto immigration, before we move on, I'm assuming next we'll do the abortion thing, but to loop it back into our immigration topic, that's what makes me so pissed off about the rightward shift in immigration, because those South Asian countries are fucked. They are so fucked that, like, because they're not having kids at an even more rapid rate, policies that they used to have, like the China one-child policy, has destroyed the population. And in 20, 30, 50 years, they are going to have a far more significant demographic shift. And no one's immigrating there because they're incredibly culturally homogenous nations. They speak one language, like Japan. Japanese people speak Japanese. Not many other people do. South Korean people speak Korean. Not many other people do. People aren't moving there. America has the comparative advantage. We are so well situated to come out on top of this massive demographic shift that's going to happen over the next 100 years, and we're just not using it. We're like we can beat every other country because all the immigrants are going to come here, and that's a good thing because it'll completely solve the demographic shift problem. But we don't want them because they're fucking brown and we're racist, and oh my god, it pisses me off so much.
I like when John goes into Homelander mode. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll tell you what were you going to say?
South Koreans are prostituting their little girls in order to prevent this. And all we have to do is let people who want to be here be here.
Just literally open
We're not doing
geographically, the United States, geographically, it's one of the best situated nations on the planet.
Oh yeah,
the best. Incredibly difficult to invade. It has most of all the biomes on Earth are contained in some parts of this country. It's one of the largest single states on the planet. There's categorically no reason why the borders can't be open and we sort of can't make space for that. Aside from you said, it's just simple pure racism. And on that note, it's so interesting because when you look at the history of the United States, the United States politicians have put themselves in so many different situations where the country, the business owners, the politicians would have been so better off if they weren't racist. I compare this to sort of the civil rights era. I was talking to a friend about this earlier. I was like, you hated black people so much you made sure they couldn't give you money. Under a capitalist system, how is that advantageous for you? You made sure you couldn't get wealthy under them. That's just sort of that's crazy to me. That's crazy.
That is so funny because you guys have had discussions with conservatives and libertarians, and you talk about how, John, last show we were discussing that you need government intervention to stop a lot of horrible things from happening in the market, or it could collapse on itself. And when you bring up this would happen with the gay wedding cake thing, and people was like, well, we shouldn't allow people to discriminate on something like sexual orientation. And the conservative argument was, listen, I think discrimination is wrong. I just don't think the government should get involved. And quite honestly, if any business is stupid enough to just, bar a segment of the population from giving them money, they're going to collapse. It's have you picked up a history book? How could you possibly say this with a straight face? Because I say it's 100% right. These people gave up money just to be racist for hundreds of years. They had to be forced to take black people's money because it's insane. And it's one of those great examples to show that it's nonsense when people talk about how this problem is just going to fix itself. And I don't know. That's some bullshit there. If you guys permit me, I want to call a quick audible here on the topics, and I want to. We forgot about Ben. He said, I think that Nazis got recruited after World War II, secretly taken over by politics, slowly destroying democracy. Prescott Bush was a Nazi industrialist, and so is Henry Ford. Ben, you said you had a conspiracy. And so was Henry Ford, and JFK family were Nazis too. So Henry Ford, if you guys want to know who Henry Ford was, imagine if Elon Musk was alive 100 years ago. But no, actually, Henry Ford was smarter than Elon Musk.
Henry Ford he's way better at business than Elon Musk
he's a lot smarter than Elon Musk. I don't want to, but
how dare you insult Henry Ford like that?
I know I shouldn't go that far. Henry Ford actually did invent shit and everything, and but just as racist. Henry Ford, he wrote a book called, I think it was called The International Jew, I think is what it was called. Ooh. And it's just as bad as it sounds. It's just as bad as it sounds. He was propagating the protocols of the elders of Zion. And did any of you guys square dance in high school by any chance? Did you have square dancing classes?
No.
No,
I grew up in the North, TJ.
Well, I never did either.
Yeah,
but no, listen. So listen, I didn't square dance in high school either, but I was an adult, and I heard a lot of people tell me that they'd had square dancing classes in high school. It was complete
My
mystery to
mom
me.
did,
I'd never
yeah.
heard of it.
Yeah,
Your mom
I
did?
have heard this. Yeah.
Yeah, and people did this shit. That's from Henry Ford. Henry Ford said that he wanted to implement square dancing in United States public schools to reduce the influences from jazz that, you know, black people and Jewish people were pushing. And Henry Ford was a racist son of a bitch all the way through. So
that's so
yeah,
racist. That's like so like it's just like why does he even bother with that level of racism? Like it's such a minute thing.
Yeah,
the international
I'm not
Jew is
gonna
the right
lie.
term. Oh, go ahead, Doctor.
What is that commenter? What does that mean? The international Jew is the right.
Oh, that's the
term?
book that Henry Ford had.
Oh yeah.
The international Jew is the right term. I hadn't even thought of that book ever. Yeah, that's what Henry Ford wrote about. Yeah, you know, Jewish control of the world and stuff like that. But go, what are you gonna say?
I was gonna say that the looking into how much control capitalists had on the American public education system was a real fucking big eye opener for me. I think that was the moment where I was like, oh, so it's all fucked. When I learned that Rockefeller like created the education system in the United States, funded most of it himself, I was like, oh, okay. So and he was quoted saying the United States doesn't need, what was it, like scientists, we need workers. And so he like sort of helped create the education system to be just a system in which it created workers for capitalists. That was something to me that was like, oh, so the whole system is rigged. So hearing about Rockefeller, then like continuing that legacy, and then like, you know, implementing square dancing in schools is like a funny story, but at the same time it's kind of heartbreaking when you sit and think about it. You're like, damn, so they can just do that. They can just make that happen. You know what I mean?
That's also the other thing, to loop it back to Ben's comment, is that like Ben's conspiracy theory is a little bit reductionist, because it's not like this is a Nazi problem. It's not like it's because the Nazis came over here from Germany and like this, that. It's capitalism. Right. Like it's just capitalism is always inherently going to divert towards fascism, because that's the hierarchical structure of capitalism. The hierarchical structure of fascism go hand in hand. And when capitalism starts getting out of hand, well, we got the fascism to force it right back into line. So it's not so much that they just came from Germany. It's just that this is the way it always has been. We had fucking, you know, Nazi rallies, fascist rallies here in America during World War II. They were huge. Like it's not like it was an ideological opposition. It's not because the Germans came over here. It's the way we always have been.
I think that's why I tend to stray away from conspiracy theories in like that posit that certain political you know, people are Nazis, or just like use the word Nazi in general, because I think what Hitler did in World War II was he allowed the entire Western world to have a specific particular scapegoat in which they could point at and say, this is the real villain of the world. Even though the policies he was practicing, the ideology he was espousing, it was like commonplace throughout the entire Western world, that because the Nazis were so uniquely evil in how they carried out the genocide of the Jewish population, people can just now point at that specific group as the only fascist group, as the true arbiter of evil in the world. And so when people say, when people's conspiracy theories revolve around like, oh, this person was an ex-Nazi, yada yada yada, it doesn't really like hit me as hard, because they don't have like a politician doesn't have to be a Nazi to be a fascist. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a government doesn't have to be explicitly like Hail Hitler to be explicitly fascist. And I feel like that's what a lot of people misunderstand. Cute cat, man.
He's like the mascot of the show. Yeah, he always bothers me during the show. It's fascist all the way down, folks. But so
nice
what I
wanted all the way down reference. There's like a very small amount of the internet that would we have one subscriber who might have gotten that reference.
There is a True Detective. You guys ever see that show, True Detective?
I've been wanting to watch it.
Oh my god, I'll tell you this. It's the only one you need to watch. The rest of them are dog shit. But it's fantastic. But there's a mayor in the town who's like all corrupt and everything. And I remember someone talk. His name is Amir Tuttle. And I heard a guy talking about it. He said it was Tuttles all the way down. One of my favorite jokes that he made. But all right, what I wanted to bring up real quick was our favorite Congressman, Byron Donalds, who is a black Republican. I forget which state he's from, but you'll see him usually with Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene. He's really gunning for the vice presidency, which I don't think he's going to get. I have a prediction on that, but I don't think it's Byron Donalds. But the other day, I think it was yesterday, he came under fire for saying something like it was better for black people under Jim Crow. And this is something that I point to all the time, that if you talk to Republicans and you ask them two questions, like, when was America great? And specifically, when was it good for black people? They will always allude to the fact that it was better before the civil rights era. They usually don't say it out loud. But here's what Byron Donalds said that he's been.
My mom. My dad and my mom, things didn't work out. As an adult, I look at my father and I say, bro, I don't know what happened, but you my father and I love you.
Wow.
I don't know what happened. I wasn't there.
Wow.
But I'm going to tell you this. Growing up, the one thing I knew I wanted to do, and this is not about my father, this is about what I wanted to do, is I wanted to be a father to myself.
Wow.
I want to interrupt real quick and say that I too wish that Byron Donald's dad was there to raise him, because he may have turned out to be a better man when he grew up. So, Byron Donald, you have my sympathy that your dad left you, but seeing the kind of person you are, I kind of get it. I don't think I would want to hang out with you either. So maybe we can't blame Mr. Donalds for this after all. I mean, probably had bad vibes as a kid, but let's see what gets into
his dad and Matt Powell's dad, they met up and
And so one of the things that's actually happening in our culture, which you're now starting to see in our politics, is the reinvigoration of black families with younger black men and black women. And that is also helping to breed the revival of a black middle class in America. You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together.
That's right.
During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people always have been conservative minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then HEW, Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are.
So this is a pretty common refrain that you hear from conservatives, that, black folk had it pretty rough during Jim Crow, but at least their families were strong. Because if you look at the data, more black people stayed together. They had fewer divorces, but then Lyndon Johnson came along and ruined it all with the welfare and helping people out after hundreds of years of oppression. That's what tanked the black family. If only we hadn't have given them any assistance whatsoever, things would have been fine. I mean, sure, white marriage rates have declined since then too, but let's not focus on that. Let's just focus on the fact that black marriage rates have declined since then, and it's just nakedly obvious that he's him with this fucking cigar in his hand, pandering and shit to white racists. And I don't know. I just wanted to broadcast that and get you guys' thoughts on it. We'll go to John first. John, what are your thoughts on that? I like
why'd you put him on the spot like that?
TJ's been doing this thing where whenever we have a black guest on, he picks the racial topics and then just throws to me. He's like, well, I definitely want to hear John's opinion on this first.
I saw him look at you and I was like, oh no.
No, my first opinion is that I have beard envy. He has a very well-groomed beard. So that's my first opinion. Second opinion is I feel like there's a certain kernel of truth, there, and I say this a lot about individualism, where there is a kernel of truth to individualism, where if you tell someone, hey, everything isn't your fault, it's the system's fault, that's why it is, they're not going to do what they need to do in order to improve their own lives. And I see this all the time from especially black conservatives, where they're like, oh, well, if we can't acknowledge systemic racism, because if we do that, then black people, they're just going to become pussies or whatever they want to say to describe it. And they're not going to work hard and do what it takes to survive in this world. And it's like you
Right.
can do both. You can have personal responsibility to make your life better, to make your family's life better, while also acknowledging that the system is rigged against you. You can do both. Like you can acknowledge that, hey, there were, families were together more, sure, but it was probably because, they shouldn't have been, or there were systemic factors that, like, if they were changed, they would have stayed together, but they weren't. It's all it's a very like just surface level reading, which I do see a lot with like Black conservative influencers really like to go to that well. And I get it. I get why certain people would be attracted to that school of thought, because it does improve their own lives when they pursue it and they get that confirmation bias, but it doesn't really work on the systemic level.
Right. I mean, I fully agree. And I always try, and emphasis on try, because most of the time it doesn't work out, but I try to hold empathetic space for Black conservatives when they espouse rhetoric like this, because I try to
TJ just shook his head like a dog. He was just like,
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, wait, let me cook. I try to, and the reason I try to hold space isn't like, what they're saying is actively harmful. However, when I, zoom out and sort of try to look at it from a historical perspective with the historical context of these Black families, and sort of the generations prior and what they've been through. These politicians, these Black conservative politicians, these are descendants of slaves, right? These are descendants of people who went through Jim Crow. And I think one of the biggest sort of like pass downs that came from slavery to Jim Crow to now Black conservative ideology is this idea of like hard work, right? Because that's all that lineage has known for the past however many 100 years. This idea that hard work is everything, like what you do. And I learned this, I think last summer when I went on a trip down south, a civil rights trip down south, that took us to Louisiana and Alabama, and then it took us to the Slavery Legacy Museum that documented like the African history from like colonialism and all the way to like mass incarceration. And one of the ideological through lines, one of the things that I noticed as I was going through this museum, which is really amazing, it's called the Legacy Museum, it's fantastic, I recommend everybody go, was that Black people as slaves were selectively bred to be workers, and not just physically, but mentally. It was a mentality that it was instilled. And then even after slavery ended and we had things like sharecropping and tenant farming, the hard work, honest days, hard work was something that was passed down from family to keep survival up, right? Like it was a means of survival. And so when I hear these people talk about how in Jim Crow the Black family was stronger and we have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, I can identify where that comes from, and I can sort of hold somewhat empathetic space for it, and still recognize that in this world it's actively harmful and these people are class traitors. But I try not to make fun of them too much, but I still end up doing it. I don't know. Well, TJ, why'd you like turn your head?
Hold on, I gotta change to my headphones here. My AirPods are dying. Hope this works.
Of course.
Got a hitch here. Somebody say something.
I'm saying something. I'm saying that
God
TJ
damn
is
it!
definitely
Oh
trying
no!
to get needed again. No, it is like it's always a hard
God.
concept.
Okay, I'm gonna try to get
always...
through without these AirPods dying and see if I can.
God.
Well, you guys can hear me, so I can talk. But all right. Anyway, so first thing I wanted to point out, the reason I shook my head out today, you were talking about how you have empathy for Black conservatives. It wasn't really for the reason you guys thought. It's because I used to be one, so I know how Black conservatives think and everything.
True, yeah.
Yeah. So, but looking back on it, it's like, you don't feel too bad for them. Trust me. It's like keep that contempt nice and healthy. But Ate, when did you go on this field trip? Like, how many years ago was this that you went to
last
Louisiana?
summer?
You were around
summer? This time?
Okay.
Actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's for like a college thing? Was it like or just like a family trip or a college thing or what?
I went along with, I was the videographer. I went along with a bunch of teachers and educators from the Minneapolis Public School District, where I live in Minneapolis, to go on this really cool legacy trip. And it was awesome, man. I mean, we went down and went to the church that was bombed in, what was it, Alabama. We spoke to one of the relatives of the five girls that were killed in that church bombing. We went to Selma and spoke to an activist that was with Martin Luther at the time, and then we went to the Legacy Museum, and so it was a really cool journey.
Okay, I was just asking because now I know that Minneapolis heavy with the CRT, still working strong in Minneapolis. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And I wanted to point out the thing about conservative advice that you guys said, because it's kind of what I like to say, that conservative advice, it's true and it works on a personal level. That if you just want to work hard and better yourself, it is excellent advice. And it is terrible on a societal level, or looking at wide populations. It's awful, because one thing I always say is that when it comes to conservative advice, that hey, do your best at work. Try to stand out from your peers. Like, go for that promotion. Find jobs and be appreciated, and make friends. That advice has always worked for me. It's worked 100% of the time. And but the truth is, like, everyone isn't me. I'm not trying to sound like an asshole here, but I have a lot of advantages a lot of other people don't. Say what? I'm built. Look. If you got it, you got it, right? I'm pretty funny. I'm charming. I'm easy to talk to. I've got a great vocabulary. I'm tall. I'm devilishly handsome. I mean, this shit works very well in my favor, and so it's like, if I just tell her, hey, do what I do, and like a small difference could change everything. And the survivorship bias is massive. And that if you just assume that, if I could do it, why can't everyone else do it? Well, yeah, because that's not how statistics work. And when we're talking about the marriage thing, what bothers me the most about not the most, it's up there, but when they talk about how like Ata, you were talking about, well, there were reasons that the families were together longer and the divorce rate was lower. Primary one is that women were basically trapped. They couldn't leave. There's nothing they could do. They couldn't go get jobs on their own to support themselves. They couldn't get credit cards. And what they always leave out, the black conservatives, or conservatives in general, when they talk about the breakdown of the black family, they always pretend that it only happened because the government gave black families money and women decided they didn't need husbands anymore, or maybe the aid was conditional upon being married, which was fucked up. They shouldn't have done that. But they never mentioned the war on drugs. Not one mention of the war on drugs, and how that incarcerated millions of black men and took them away from their families for years at a time, then spits them back out into a job market with a criminal record where they can't get a job, which hurts not only them, but their children and their wife. And this went on for generations, and it really bugs me. And then he has the fucking audacity to say, well, during Jim Crow, black people vote conservative. Bitch, black people weren't voting at all. What the fuck are you talking about? This is Jim Crow. The whole fucking goddamn point of Jim Crow was to stop black people from voting. And he's like, well, look how conservative they vote. Yeah, no, they weren't. It was pretty conservative. It was so conservative, it didn't happen. So it's just like, I just can't, but like, they will let anyone into Congress. Like Byron Donalds is just a prime example to me that any fucking loser can run for Congress and run. 100%. And he's just great. I can't stand that dude. But I don't know. I just wanted to bring that one up as a little wild card there, because I felt pretty passionate about this. So
yeah, clearly, but I 100% agree. It's funny because I haven't seen not one like black conservative that I'm like, okay, they went to school, like they have an education. Like I have never seen. Why is it that? And this is what really kind of sucks, because it makes black people look bad, not just for right wingers, but for like progressive white people too, when they see black conservatives like Byron Donalds, or like what was the other one that used to be an NFL player? Forgot.
Herschel Walker.
That's it. Yep.
Herschel. You know what I'm saying? Like when we see people like this, like it looks silly, because these are the political leaders of their races. Like these are the people they prop up. These are Canazoans, and they're all so dumb. Like they're all
So dumb.
without even like 7th grade historical knowledge. Like it's sad to see, like truly sad to see.
Although I will say, to a certain extent, I feel like I kind of prefer a dumb Byron Murphy to a intelligent class trader.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
No. I meant class trade. Like I actually meant class. I mean, it's intertwined, but like Obama. Like you're talking like this person I know is dumb. Like I'm just like, that's a dumb person. They're just being dumb. They don't understand.
Yeah.
But like the dangerous ones, like like Martin Luther King, the white liberal. You now have the black liberal that does the same fucking thing. You know what I mean?
So, I think the more dangerous one would be like Thomas Sowell, like an educated, like black guy who that's worse, I think, than the black liberals. Is like the rare, not only just rare conservative with an education, but a rare black conservative education. Because then have you read Thomas Sowell lately? Check out what he has to say. It's like, oh God, get the hell out of here.
If anyone's watching this right now, go look up Unlearning Economics on YouTube. Subscribe to him. He does a whole fucking thing on how Thomas Sowell is not like a real fucking economist.
Terrible,
it is terrible. But yeah, no, you'll hear. I like economics a lot, and Thomas Sowell. I want to just like throw him off a cliff. He's so annoying.
Still alive too. God, it's like we lost Michael Brooks at like 38. He's 93.
Yeah, 93 is nuts to still be walking around. That's crazy.
Jesus Christ. All right, let's go on. You guys want to talk about the abortion bill, correct?
Yeah, let's do it.
In it.
More, not abortion, but contraception.
Yeah.
More good news, I'm sure. Let's see. Let's see. The Senate GOP blocks a bill to protect birth control access because, of course, Senate Republicans blocked the bill that protects access to contraception from moving forward on Wednesday afternoon. The vote is part of the reproductive rights blitz. I love the names they give these things. The reproductive rights blitz planned by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats around the 2-year anniversary of Roe v. Wade, intended to put pressure on the GOP on one of their most vulnerable election issues. The vote failed 51-39 as senators headed out of town for the week. Okay, I want to pause right here. This is everything you need to know about how fucked up our system is, that something can fail 51-39. That should never, ever happen, but it happens happens most of the time, that most of the bills in the Senate fail, 51 or 52 and still don't go. Just 2 Republicans, Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, voted with Democrats to move forward on the bill, but not enough to reach the 60-vote threshold to overcome the filibuster. So, yeah. And what the Republicans are saying about this is correct. The Republicans are saying that this measure to, have a law that protects women's rights to contraception is not gonna pass. You don't have 60 votes, and all you're doing is just signaling to your base that you're pretending to do something about it. Yeah, that's true. Like that's true, but why aren't you voting for it? I forget the guy's name. The guy saw the clip on this where he's like, "This is already legal. There's no reason to vote something law. It's already legal." As if Roe versus Wade wasn't overturned 2 years ago or something like that. Like I say that with a straight face, but I don't know. I'd say, what do you think when you saw this wonderful news?
I really like, as you said, that 51. What was it, like 51-39?
51-39. Yeah.
That is so interesting because you grow up hearing the United States is democracy. Democracy is like a simple concept, right? Majority rules. Whoever has the most fucking votes, that's what we go for. So when you learn about the inner workings of how the American governmental system actually works, numbers like that just exist. Like situations like that only exist to just be shocking. Like, damn. Does it take more effort to vote yes than to vote no? That is a really good
I'm not
question.
sure what you're asking, Tweedledee, and what you mean by the question.
Tweedledee saying that, like you said, TJ, why not just vote for the bill then? Like if you really if you're not
like a sarcastic
birth control access, why would you not just vote yes?
Just
Like, why
vote
not?
yes, yeah, and that's literally right then and there. Like, why wouldn't they just vote less? And the thing is, I'm not entirely shocked. I'm not even remotely shocked. Not even a little bit, because as soon as Roe v. Wade was unturned, I knew it was going to be an incredible uphill battle for reproductive rights to be secure again in this country. Because the thing is like culturally, or not culturally, but I would say like legislatively, the right wingers, the Republicans, have been dominating for the past decade at least, like ever since even during Obama's presidency, when they refused to let him pick a different judge after what was her name?
Ginsburg.
Yeah.
Ginsburg, yeah. After Ginsburg left, I just knew it was going to be like they've been legislatively dominating, and so seeing this after Roe v. Wade got overturned wasn't even entirely shocking, and it's something that like it is sad to see. But if the Democrats aren't doing it very much to fight it, because it's not an issue that they're super invested in that much. At least I'm not totally convinced that this is an issue that Democrats like genuinely care about. Otherwise, it would have been codified a lot earlier.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's always been the case, and that's actually the funny thing. Like, if you talk with like fucking like liberals who like defend Democrats tooth and nail, you're like, hey, when Democrats had the supermajority, they could have codified abortion rights into law. Why didn't they? And like, oh well, no one knew it was coming. You know, no one. Roe v. law was considered settled law. It's like, but then why not just do it? Yeah, like just a case.
I don't even buy that no one knew it was coming either, because the conservatives have been talking about how they wanted to overturn.
They couldn't have been more clear.
Very long, like they've been saying it's their main objective for as long as Roe v. Wade was established. They've been like, no, it was a mistake. We're going to overturn it if it's the last thing we do, and that's at least as long as I've been alive. I've been hearing that.
Yeah, it's funny.
So
go ahead, TJ.
Oh, go ahead, John.
Well, so I was going to say that question that you proposed earlier, TJ. If you are like, this isn't a problem, it shouldn't be a thing, why are you doing this? Why not just vote yes? And it's actually funny. I hate to give credit to Fox News, but Fox News host Brett Breyer actually asked one of our, speaking of black conservatives, one of our favorite black conservatives, Tim Scott. He asked him. He asked him that question, and I wanted to show his brilliant answer to this question. So this is Tim Scott on Fox News. I think this was today, actually.
I hate Tim Scott the least.
The Contraception Act failed in the Senate today. We had to get 60 to get past the procedural hurdle. 39 nays. You were one of the nays.
Yes.
So for folks who, why vote nay, and explain how that's not a bad issue for Republicans.
Yeah, this is just a shame that the Democrats are willing to try to politicize whether or not women have access to contraceptions. The bottom line is they absolutely do, and that will continue. The question is why Democrats continue to take the most extreme position on abortion in the country. All the Senate Democrats have voted, not talked about, but.
And I'll stop it there because he just spends the rest of the time talking about Democrats and how they want to kill babies who have already been born. But it is funny because they don't have there is not a logical answer to the question, why not just vote yes then? Like, if you fundamentally agree that women should have the right to contraception, why not just vote yes on this bill? Even like, how does that hurt anyone in the world? And the answer that he gives there is shockingly similar to the answer we heard from Biden when we were talking about the immigration issue, where he's like, why are you politicizing the border? Why are you weaponizing this issue? It's the same exact fucking response, because neither of them have logically consistent answers to give. And it kind of just shows that this whole, like, obviously you're doing this because you want to deny asylum seekers the right to be in this country. Obviously you're doing this because you want to deny women access to birth control. And even if you don't specifically want that, you have constituents that want you to. And that's the part that they will not say out loud is, oh, why is it a political weapon? If all of you people agree that like women should have access to contraception, how is this a weapon? It's like, because you don't. because you don't. The only reason it can be used as a weapon is because it will hurt you if you vote yes for it, because that's who your constituents are and that is who you serve.
Yeah, I want to read Ben's comment here. Tim Scott sucks. He comes from my state, an awful place when it comes to politics. Couldn't agree. Tim Scott is so bad. He's so terrible. He's so awful. I want to talk about him later on. But yeah, this whole thing with the that's right. I wanted to discuss something that you and Ante were just talking about why the Democrats never codified Roe v. Wade into law, and why they were surprised when the Republicans did exactly what they said they were going to do for the last 50 years. Now, the answer to both those questions, the first one is that I don't think they ever had the votes to actually codify it into law. The Democrats had a 59
they did
majority
if all the Democrats voted for it.
Yeah, if they would have had all, which they wouldn't have. They wouldn't have. Like, all the Democrats wouldn't have been on board with it. And they only had 60 seats for like 3 or 4 months. It was a pretty short period of time. And then you would need all 60 to agree. And there was a lot of, and this is like 15, 16 years ago, there was a lot of conservative Democrats then who wouldn't have supported it. And second, listen, don't judge me too harshly here, but I have said I said this like for 20 years now. I said, I guess 18. I said, the Republicans will never overturn Roe v. Wade. Now, listen, I'm not going to why I said this, because I'm not an idiot. I know they have been saying it. I just thought they were smarter than that. I thought that the Republicans knew that if they overturned Roe v. Wade, it would be an albatross around their neck. For you kids listening, that's a reference to the Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Fantastic poem, read it. But and it would just sink them. It would be a terrible curse for them. And I said, look, you can fundraise off the Democrats or baby killers, and we're the only thing standing in the way until the end of time. But if you overturn Roe v. Wade, not only do you lose that scare tactic, but you also galvanize the normal ass people who never cared about politics into voting against you. I genuinely thought they were too smart to do that. But, you know, the ideologues that made it onto the Supreme Court, I thought they would be educated and they'd be too smart to do that. And I was incorrect. Like the inmates ran the asylum and actually got to the Supreme Court. So that's why people were kind of surprised by that, is we actually put too much confidence in the intelligence of conservatives, which is a mistake I will never make again.
Yeah, I have a theory about that as to why, because I like what you're saying. I like because 20 years ago, it actually kind of would have been out of the line of reasoning to think that they would overturn Roe v. Wade, just because it had been set for so long, and society as a whole had moved to generally being like okay with abortion, at the very least, like not actively hateful as a majority. But my big theory on why they ended up overturning it, and just why we've seen such an increase in like further shifting right, and not only like shifting further right, but also just like more belligerent behavior within the political realm, is that the world is getting largely more progressive, and it's a danger to the conservative ideologues. And when their backs are up against the corner, I think what happened when gay marriage was fully legalized across all 50 states was, I think, a point when Republicans and conservatives knew that their way was dying. And you know, that I think that's when they started actively lashing out in ways that, like, the rhetoric around LGBT people shot up in terms of like the violent nature of the way they were speaking. The tactics they were using were even grimier than they've ever been. Social media campaigns, all these politicians saying like damn near genocidal things and openly hateful things without any scruples whatsoever. It's a result of this idea that like an animal that feels trapped is going to lash out. These niggas know their way is dying. The old world is over, and they're trying to hold on to it as viciously as they can. And, you know, in that sense, like, things get worse before they get better. It's kind of like a silver lining situation where I feel like, you know, overcoming this big hurdle of this big push to fascism that we're seeing in the United States, as if we collectively overcome that, then it's like, that's that, we killed it. Because the more radicalized right wing they get, the more it pushes people to be radically left wing. Sort of the way things were, where both parties were sort of reasonably like debating with each other, and there wasn't a whole lot of super far right or super far left policies being introduced, kept things complacent. Now we're in a situation where the more the Republican Party scratches and claws for power socially, politically, legislatively, the more people, specifically in my generation, get infuriated and radicalized towards the left. I mean, that's just my theory.
Nah, you're 100% right there. The world is separating into two sides because the conditions economically, and we're not just talking about America, we said this earlier, like the demographic shift that's about to happen, the climate change shift that's about to happen, the mass migration that's about to happen. The people who are smart know all of these things are coming, and they know that they need to consolidate the troops now in order to protect their treasure. And if they don't, they're screwed because the demographic shift is going to take it over. The wealth transfer from the boomers to the millennials, who are way farther left than any generation has ever been at their age, is going to be devastating for the ruling class. And they need to fight these things now. And so that's why you're seeing more and more aggressive far-right, I don't know if you call it activism, policy setting, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like, that's why it's getting more aggressive. Because they know if they don't win now, it's over for them. This is a last grasp of a dying empire, and hopefully we win. But we never have one, and that really is scary to me. But I do hope that we win. The numbers are on our side, but the systems are already in place. We have minority rule in this country. Like, we're just talking about the Senate. Like, the Senate is already a minority rule institution. And you need to get 60 votes in this minority rule institution in order to get anything done. It's actually fundamentally designed to stop progress. And it's going to be hard. I do wonder if the Constitution is constructed in a way that's going to allow America to survive in its current state. But I'm sure it will. I just don't know in what state it will.
My major
are you
prediction
sure
is that
it will, John? Like, sure is a strong word.
I think
I
think the richest country in the world is going to survive. That might not be the empire that it is now, but I don't think that the United States is going anywhere in my lifetime.
I don't know. I think the United States that we know is the Walking Dead. Like, it's a dead man walking. And I think a lot of that has to do with Trump, because like 10 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined a politician like Trump consolidating so much fucking power and support. I could not have imagined it in my wildest dreams. And now, to the point where he's been convicted of 34 counts of felonies, and he's still planning to run. And there are active politicians, not just like political commentators, but politicians saying they fully support. The governor of Florida saying that he will change the law to make him allowed to allow him to run for presidency. I would not put it past this country, or I would not say it's too far out of the realm of reason that Donald Trump, upon like getting the presidency, if he does, tries to like incite another insurrection, this time like by doing away with the Constitution, or like some drastic change that really propels this country in a completely different direction. I feel like not anticipating that at this point, it was kind of a mistake, because we've already been moving in a really crazy direction anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing with Trump is, it is wild to think of, because like, you're right, 10 years ago you could have never imagined this shit. And the thing that's really funny to me about Trump's presidency, if I could find anything funny about it, is that Donald Trump kind of exposed. Say what?
I said there's a lot funny about his presidency.
You're right. There's a hell of a lot that's funny about his presidency. That's true. It's like an endless supply of comedy. But I do love the fact that Donald Trump exposed the fact that a lot of what we assumed was just like actual set in stone law was just a series of back slaps and handshakes and just held together by bubble gum and chicken wire that, oh yeah, of course everyone's going to honor this rule that we've had for 200 years. That's just what you do. And Donald Trump's like, no, actually, I'm not going to do that. And like, can he do that? Yes, he can, I guess. Or like you were saying, I'd say that, yeah, a felon's not going to run for president. Yeah, he can actually, and he can get a ton of support, and people are going to be lining up to kiss his ass while he does it. People who don't even like him, like people who despise him, who wishes he would drop dead of a heart attack tomorrow morning. All their lives would be better, and they cannot wait to try to suck this guy off. It's just. It is wild to see. And it is funny when I see Trump talk about things that are just detrimental to him, because have you heard him say, well, of course you've heard him say this, that he doesn't think it's fair that he lost this last election. So as far as he's concerned, he should get a third term. He should be able to run for a third term. And it's like, buddy, if you ran for a third term, you would just get your ass kicked by Barack Obama. If you open that door, you know that's what would happen. Like, it would be the most humiliating defeat in American history, and you know it. I don't know, like, that's not going to work out in your favor. But you
can implement all of the fascist voter restrictions that you want, and you will still lose. he would get trounced.
It would be such an embarrassment.
But I'm afraid of what happens when he loses, because here's the thing about Trump. And this is why I feel like he'll always be an issue so long as he's alive, whether or not he's president. Because the thing about Trump is he does not respect the American political system. He does not adhere to the principles of being a politician. The rule, if he loses, then the rules were rigged. Fuck the rules. It doesn't matter. You know, if Biden loses, fair and square. I tip my hat to you, good sir. You know, I'm off to my ranch where I live out the rest of my days. If Trump loses, he's still going to hold rallies. He's going to still say that he's president. He's going to say that he deserves to win. And so I'm more afraid of what happens when he loses this second time than when he wins, than if he wins low key, because he's already shown that he'll never give up. He'll never give up what he feels like is his right to lead the country.
Well,
so John and I,
he's not going to be around for much longer either way.
Yes,
so, like if he was 40, I might be worried, but he's not going to be around much longer.
We're lucky he waited this long to do it. We're lucky he waited, and then
swear to God,
at like 45. Yeah, right. It was no, but John and I are talking about this, that I think I can, maybe I'm just being optimistic here, and maybe I'm putting too much confidence in the American people but I can see a universe in which Trump is just trounced. Like he's just embarrassed, just like a giant landslide. I don't think it would affect Trump. Of course, he's going to say this is bullshit, like a 4-year-old. It was I was cheated and everything. But it could be like so embarrassing to support Trump after that. Or it's like, okay, this is a lost cause. We lost in 2020. We got crushed in 2024. I mean, like, him gathering a ton of support after that, I think would be kind of difficult if he was just really embarrassed. Maybe I'm being too silver lining here. You guys don't agree with me?
Yeah.
Like, no, TJ,
you say that.
Oh, we lost
you
John.
Say that into my head. Oh no.
He was so upset by my postulation.
He left. He's like, dude, fuck you. No, you say that. But it's like there are still people waving Confederate flags.
Good point. Good point.
It's not embarrassing to they one army, one nation that lasted like 2-3 years. They lost the only war they were ever in pretty badly. They got whipped to conservatives, and this is what I find so fascinating about conservatives. They don't get embarrassed, and that's a superpower. They know how to turn all of their L's into W's. They know how to like rework everything you say into like being proud of it. You know what I mean? Like Trump being a felon thing is like the perfect example, because let Obama have been like, oh Christ, like arrested for jaywalking. Like let Obama had like spit a piece of gum into the sidewalk. Oh my God, they would call him the worst serial killer on the like they would recommend the death penalty and say that he's a disgrace to the American political system. But Trump, now it's cool. Trump's got a felon. Oh, I'm voting for a felon for president. That's so cool. That's gangster. You know what I mean? They know how to switch the narrative. So I don't see that
No.
happening to where they'll be embarrassed.
You're right. You're right. So, John, when you dropped out, Ate was saying that. Well, first, I want to acknowledge Heather's brilliant Trump for president 2028 with the gravestone and the death. That's very funny. I love that. That's very funny.
Yeah.
With the dead
Yeah.
Trump. But he was saying that conservatives, much like Trump, they can't be embarrassed. Like that's their like superpower. And he brought up the Confederacy. Oh my God, John was he's again.
I kind of knew his Wi-Fi was messing up. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
he was kind of frozen. So while we're waiting for Johnny to get back, we're talking about people who can't be embarrassed. Let's look over Trump's vice president list. So I have a lot I have to say about this. Now, of course, the person who was always on the top of the list was Kristi Noem, but she rather hilariously, you know, did her own goal where she announced to the world that she shot her dog in the face, and so now she's off the list, which is have you seen anyone's political ambitions evaporate faster than Kristi Noem's? I've never seen it, because like last year, I wager 95% of Americans had never heard of Kristi Noem. They had no clue who this person was. And then John, are you with us? No, he's frozen again. Oh no.
I can hear him.
Am I back?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, he's back.
There we go. All right, great, fantastic. Okay, so I had a hard time hearing John. It was like a lag on my side. But
I think I can hear him.
Yep, I heard that. So we were talking about conservatives being embarrassed and all, and I wanted to point out that Trump has requested financial records and other documents from 8 potential VP picks as he formalizes his vetting. And the 8 people that he's vetting are Senator J.D. Vance, Governor Doug Burgum, Senator Marco Rubio, Senator Tim Scott, Ben Carson, Elise Stefanik, Byron Donalds again, and Tom Cotton. Now, I am making my prediction right now here. Like I think we both predicted Kristi Noem until she shot her dog in the face or admitted she did that. But I'm going Ben Carson. I think he's going to pick Ben Carson. That's my guess here. And I first had this thought a few weeks back when I saw an interview with Trump, and they asked him, "Hey, who are you looking at for vice president?" And he said, Elise Stefanik, Marco Rubio, Tim Scott, and Ben Carson. It's like, all right, that's weird he mentioned Ben Carson, because I haven't heard anybody talk about Ben Carson up until that point, which makes me think that Trump really wants him to be vice president, because nobody else does. No one wants, but he fits what Trump would want. He's someone who's really timid, someone who's going to do what he's told, and someone who's never going to upstage him. And that's what Trump wants. Trump wants someone who's going to fit that mold. So that's my guess. I don't. Do you guys have any bold picks you want to make on this topic real quick?
Oh, I got it. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
The more that this goes on, Tom Cotton is starting to feel like the pick to me, because Tom Cotton of all of them is the most fascist. Like,
he is.
The others are total bootlickers, and we know Trump is going to want a bootlicker. But I also know that Trump doesn't want a repeat of Pence. And I know that Tom Cotton is going to buy all the way in. And I don't know about any of the others if they're going to buy all the way in. And I know Tom Cotton fucking will.
Yeah.
So
that's a really, really good
point. He can pick any of them, and I wouldn't be surprised. And he's also the one that isn't black or a woman. And
that's true.
A minority in any way.
Yeah. That's actually kind of weird. J.D. Vance, Tom Cotton, and Doug Burgum are the only 3 white men on that list. That's odd. That is kind of odd.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. That's a really good point. I was gonna go ahead and say Ben Carson too, but you make an excellent point, because that was the strategy the first time, right? He was gonna be the big braggadocio, president, and Mike Pence was going to be this quiet little guy in the background that said yes to whatever. The only problem with Mike Pence is that Mike Pence is an old school politician who believes in the law of the land or whatever. And Trump fucking doesn't. And so, when it came down to it, when Trump was getting into real crazy activities, Pence was like, nah, this is doing too much. So I think now, in pivoting Trump wants power. He does not care about the legality of the political system anymore. Or I don't even think he ever did. Now it's simply just about being president and holding on to that power for as long as possible. And like you guys said, Tom Cotton is the only person on that list who is going to lock in. And like if I were, because I'm thinking about if I were Trump and I wanted to plan like an actual like fascist takeover of the United States government, and I had to like pick a vice president out of this list, like who is the most devilish person on here that that is as hateful as I am? Just Tom Cotton. You know, it's an easy pick, first round draft pick. He's getting that phone call.
Which also it's just like a bad like alternative history like writer. It's like what's the evil white guy's name? Tom Cotton.
Tom Cotton. Yeah, you're right. Oh, you're right. Oh my God, you're right. That's great, Tom Cotton. If you turn that in as like some like plantation, I was like, no, go back. This is too on the head, too on the nose. Come on, we're not doing this shit. Try to do some symbolism here. Before we move on, I wanted to pull up Ben's comment here. By the way, we keep calling Rachel Ben because he's using his mom's account. We know that because he told us. If you're wondering, Ate, why we keep saying Ben, he's like, who the fuck
cool.
Is this Ben So
his mom's
he says, I heard about Ben Carson from a school assignment. He did cool experience to help people. Listen, so did I. When I was like 10 years old, or 12 years old, I remember doing a book report on Ben Carson. And
How old is Ben Carson?
He's like 70. Like he's like 70 years old. Yeah.
I didn't think he was that old. Wow.
Yeah, he's old. But Ben Carson was he grew up really poor. And he was like in, the projects or Section 8 or something like that. His family was on assistance, which is very funny now that he's a conservative, and because of course, and he he got a scholarship. I think he went to St. John's or something. I can't remember, but he was a brain surgeon, and I did a whole book report on how he was the first person to successfully separate twins that were conjoined at the head. And so I grew up like, he's actually a genius brain surgeon. It is wild that he's actually super skilled and intelligent in this one area and a giant fucking dumbass in literally everything else. And it's just, so I've stopped using brain surgeon as synonym for intelligent since Ben Carson's come along. But yeah, that's very true. All right, we got two topics. How much time do we have left here? What time is it? Oh, we got half an hour.
We got like one topic time left.
All right, let's do Captain America. Let's do this one. So, all right, let me pull this up. Oh, what are the comments were before we move on?
I was hoping you would say that, TJ. I was like, obviously we should do the Israel one, but I kind of want to.
We kind of are
Israel ones.
We kind of are.
It kind of gets both.
Them. That's a good idea, John. Yeah, but yeah, we were putting the topics together last night. We're like, man, we've like 2 weeks ago. We're like, okay, this is the last Gaza segment we're going to do for a while because we do one every single week, but you can't help it. We just can't help it. News keeps coming out about it.
What's going on, right?
I thought it would be Tim Scott. Also, being black would help him argue he's not racist. So I did a video with my Ben Carson prediction, and a lot of people were saying that, well, the MAGA folks, they're not going to like a black vice president. It's like, yeah, this is true. The jug hooting racists who vote for Trump, they would generally prefer a white vice president over a black one.
Yeah.
But the only thing that Trump supporters like more than bigotry is tokenism and spite. And they're going to use both of those for 4 years. It's like, you say we're racist. We got a black VP. Like they would
do that
love
with Sarah
that.
Palin all the time. Where they're like, we're the first one to have a woman on the ticket. Oh.
Yep, they would do that. And what do you say here? I remember Cotton wanted to send troops on peaceful protests. So did Trump. So that kind of fits.
So did Trump.
And Ben said, black people and women taking the jobs of being a racist from white men. That's funny.
That's funny.
Ben Carson is almost old enough to be president now.
Oh, that's funny.
I
Get
saw
it because
that
the last few presidents were like,
Oh, okay.
Older
I get it.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Trump
okay.
and
All
Biden.
right,
That's
I
good.
get it.
That's good.
Did anyone look up how old he was? Did anyone actually look up how old
Yeah,
he
he's
was?
72.
72. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I put Captain Israel in the I don't know if you guys
Captain
saw
Israel.
the thumbnail I put it as Captain
Yeah.
Israel, but so all right, I'll let you open up with it because I had heard something about this story, but I had a hard time
Yeah.
finding articles on it. Actually, it took me.
Okay.
I only found 2 or 3. John, did you look up any more? Because I only found a couple that were directly talking about it. So, can you break it to us? I'll tell you what's going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the skinny, right? Because so what was it? 3 years ago? Yeah, back in 2022, it was announced that Captain America was getting his own film, and it was announced that they was going to introduce this Israeli superhero named Sabra, and that at the time had some controversy surrounding it. Because even before this genocide, there's been a lot of young people that were not happy with Israel, and so that got a little bit of controversy, but people mostly like let it play out, right? If you go back and look at the origins of this character in some of her earlier comics, it's actually really like dark stuff. She has this comic storyline with the Hulk where the Hulk has to tell her, and this is an Israeli superhero, the Hulk has to tell her that a Palestinian child that's dead is a human being. Like the Hulk convinces her that Palestinians are people. I shit you not.
Whoa,
That's
Like
hilarious.
he gives
That's
her
actually
he
really
gives her this
funny.
stern fucking talking to, and we were like, this is the superhero that they're introducing. And so when this Israel and Palestine genocide kicked off, that's when there was a lot of pressure at Disney and at Marvel for being like, wait, you guys are actively coming out with a film that introduces an Israeli superhero at a time where Israel is actively committing a genocide. And so there was this big push, like, boycott this film unless you completely phase out this character, unless you remove this character. And so it's got us to the point where now the film has undergone multiple script rewrites and multiple reshoots. It's been reported that it's reshot like twice. Some characters have been removed. That's all we've heard. But people are speculating that with this newest round of reshoots that have started in the last month or so, is when they're actively they're removing the Israeli character. That's just speculation. That wasn't something that Marvel confirmed, but there is a big amount of push to force Marvel to remove that character. Otherwise, the film will be boycotted, and it's still coming out in 2026. But me personally, I'm a little bit more skeptical. I genuinely don't think they're going to remove the character. I think they're going to do what Marvel always does as keepers of the status quo, and they're going to try to rewrite this character in a way that's oh, Israelis deserve their a right to live too, and those are just bad apples that are hurting. If they even acknowledge that Israel is actively harming Palestinians, then it'll be in a way that dissolves the society as a whole of blame and pins it on specific individuals. But for the most part, people are saying that they're not going to watch the film if that Israeli superhero is in it. That's the skinny.
All right. So I didn't know any of that until you brought this up. This is really fascinating to me. And the first thing, I have 2 things mainly I want to say. The first thing is, can Disney give Sam Wilson a good plot to save their life? Can they do that to this character? Can Sam Wilson get one good plot or one good storyline that people can get behind here? He had the thing in Captain America and the Winter Soldier Falcon and Winter Soldier where
Falcon, yeah.
where you had the terrorists that did the whole the cartoon thing is oh, these guys have some really legitimate complaints here. And they're like, let's bomb an orphanage. This is horrible. What are you guys trying to do here? It's just some comedy shit. The second thing I want to add, okay, this Sabra character, is she supposed to be black? Because I'm looking at her. This is a black character. I mean, is she supposed to be? Because I didn't read anything that she was, but I've seen this image a couple of times. Now, no, she's not. What the fuck is going on here? What the fuck is going on?
Have you never? I've been there. I've been there. I have met a few people, especially women, who looked really like racially ambiguous to me because they had froze, like curly hair that resembled froze. And I had asked them, I'm like, are you mixed? Like, and they'd just be like, no, I'm Jewish. And so like I've seen a lot of Jewish people. There are a couple of actors. I think it was like Broad City or the TV series. One of the actors there. I know a lot of Jewish women can tend to have like curlier, like sort of like thicker hair that resembles afros, and then I think that's what they were going for with this image.
John again, no. John. We get into the hair care talk, and John is gone. He's out. But
he's like,
so
it's not my area.
So I'm sure you know the expression. Maybe you don't want to say it, and I don't blame you. But like, I mean, they're commonly referred to as Jew froze. You know, and so I have seen this, and have you ever seen Alex? No, Ben said no, John. But do you ever see I don't know if Alex Trebek is Jewish or not, but have you ever seen like images of Alex Trebek in like the 60s and 70s? I saw this this video with Alex Trebek talking, and he said that when he was younger, I guess getting into television, whatever, people thought he was black because he had like a really deep tan and he had a giant like afro and everything, and people just assumed he was a black guy. You go, yeah. And so they assumed he was a black, and he had a big mustache too and everything in the 70s. Yeah. And then he's like, oh my God. And he's like, no, I'm not. So, but I'm sorry, like that character, like if I saw a black character exactly like that, I mean, okay, yeah, I wouldn't think twice about it. But yeah, it just seemed like they were really going for it. Like, I don't know. But the whole thing, I read a little bit about, John's back. I didn't notice. John, are you with us?
Wonderful.
I'm with you. My computer is just not cooperating, so I'm on my phone.
Not working.
For the bad audio quality, but yeah.
I was talking about. Did you hear what I was talking about? How that character looked like a black character? That's what we were talking about.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So I had that thought, but my initial reaction, like, it feels like just like the most racist name you can come up for like Captain Israel. Like, yo, what's Israel? Sabra Hummus. We're gonna name her Sabra. It's like if you name like a fucking, I don't know, like I don't. What's like what's a country that does bananas? You know, if you named
Nicaragua,
or Honduras, he's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna name Captain Nicaragua. We're gonna name him Mr. Banana. Like it's just like.
Banana. Marvel did another one too. It's actually funny you mentioned that because the movie Shang-Chi even referenced it. There's this like villain. There's this Chinese villain in the comics named Mandarin, the Mandarin. And the movie Shang-Chi referenced it. They're like, they named him after a chicken dish. And I thought that was like
they did. Man, so I agree. This is Guatemala too. Yeah, Ben, Guatemala with the bananas. So when I was a kid, I used to watch the Iron Man cartoon all the time. And there's actually a really, funny. Yeah, fuck it, it's funny. There's a scene in the Iron Man cartoon where they fly two planes into the World Trade Center or something in the Iron Man cartoon from like the 1990s. I know, it's wild, man. Like they fly these planes.
No way.
It may not have been the World Trade, but it was two like very tall buildings. They fly planes into them. This is in the 90s, whatever. But anyway, the bad guy that Iron Man fought all the time in the cartoon was the Mandarin. So when Iron Man 1 came out, I really liked it. Iron Man 2, I hated. Then Iron Man 3 came out, and they had the Mandarin. I was very excited to see Mandarin in Iron Man 3. And then, it was, actually, it's just some actor. I was like, fuck you guys. I was looking forward to seeing Mandarin. So I was happy that we did get Mandarin in Shang-Chi, but they gave him a different name. It was like, yeah, by the way, it's kind of racist. You named him Mandarin or some shit. Yeah. That's true. It kind of fucked up. But yeah, I read that thing about her fighting the Hulk. I didn't know about the Hulk having to convince her about the humanity of Palestinians. And it got me thinking, how would I shoot this if I was directing this film? Like if the suits told me, okay, TJ, you need to put Sabra in this movie. It has to happen. What would I do? Because what I would want to do is something like that. I was amazed to hear that the comics actually have that story, but I don't know if they'd have the balls to do it. Like I really don't. I would
turn her into a Palestinian. I would turn her into a Palestinian and tell them to make me stop.
Yeah,
That
it's
so
really
so
and that's really the only way you can do it. Go ahead.
yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, if you go back and you watch Iron Man 1, it's
Yeah.
shocking how anti-American imperialism it is. Like you, if you go, like, there's several lines in there where I was like I watched it back and I was like, holy shit, I'm surprised that. I mean, I guess it wasn't Disney at the time. It wasn't Disney at the time, but like I was very surprised that like that is how it went down. And if you watch like the entire Marvel timeline, it gets way more comfy with American militarism and imperialism. And this is just kind of the natural conclusion of that. Like, even if you go back to Captain America Civil War, like Captain America Civil War, Captain America was very anti-American in Captain America Civil War. Like, yeah, he's fighting the Hydra and they're the Nazis and everything, but like he even going all the way to Avengers, the first one. First one is Infinity War. Like, he's kind of anti-America. Like, he's anti-establishment, and it's like there's nothing more fucking establishment than sending your token black Captain America to fight with your Israeli Captain of Israel against who I also heard. Correct me if I'm wrong here. That Giancarlo Esposito or Giancarlo, however you say his name, the Gus from Breaking Bad, is supposed to play a villain. So it's like, clearly, you're sending Captain America and Captain Israel to fight who's obviously going to be some like socialist dictator of a South American country and like put down their social. Like, that's what the fucking stoots want. Like, it's going to be the worst. This might be one of the worst movies ever made. Because it's going to be really, really bad.
And the thing is, on that point, and this is why I requested to have this be a topic, because I have a kind of unpopular opinion about this film, or not just this film, but the character of Sabra and the character of as it relates to the character of Captain America. Because what I saw was like, let me like paint it out for you, right? What we're seeing right now in this current day and age, especially with the younger generation in the midst of this genocide in Gaza, is a worldwide recognition of Israel being a colonial force, a genocidal colonial force that maintains its dominance through violence, and it maintains that colonial settler program through violence, through the violence against the Palestinian people, their subjugation, and things of that nature, right? And that's something that a lot of people are starting to understand is on a fundamentally systematic level. There are some people that are like, oh, it's just Netanyahu that's this, but a large majority of people are like, no, this is Israel. This was the only way Israel could have ever existed as a colonial settler state, through violence and genocide. And so and that's why people are like, there's no way you can reform Sabra. Get her out of the movie completely. There's no way you can have a Captain Israel character and like that have any meaningful, even if the character, like, you were to portray the character as a good-hearted, good-natured person that just wanted the best for everybody, the idea that this Captain Israel exists in and of itself is a large negative. And my unpopular opinion is that I like that, and I wish that would extend to Captain America as a character. And I don't mean Steve Rogers. I mean the concept of Captain America as it stands. And I've talked about this at length on my TikTok for at least a couple of years now. I came out with a video where I said that we should do away with Captain America just entirely, right? Like, if we're claiming to be progressive, whatever, because at the heart of it, the United States, America as it stands, is another colonial state, right? It's fundamentally, functionally no different than Israel. The only difference between the United States and Israel is how much time has passed, right? Every atrocity, all of the land stealing, all of the destroying of the environments that Israel is doing to Gaza and the West Bank are something that United States has done, and to more than just one indigenous community, right?
On a continental scale.
The Hawaiians, the Native Americans, and the Africans. That's like 3 different indigenous groups that have been systematically
and South America too,
and South America, right? Like, it's like, so the United States is the king of that. And one person commented and like, oh, Steve Rogers or Captain America isn't supposed to be representative of America as it stands. It's supposed to be representative of what America is supposed to be. And I never really liked that that argument, because there is no such thing as what America is supposed to be. America doesn't exist without all the things that I just mentioned. That's not America as it's supposed to be. Is a bunch of like native communities who run the land, right? Like America as it's supposed to be, as a concept of freedom and justice, is not compatible with, like, America is not compatible with the concepts of freedom and justice that Steve Rogers fight for. So I really liked when Steve Rogers was Nomad, and where he was like anti-government, you know, fuck the system. That was when Steve Rogers was at his best. But anytime he dons that red, white, and blue, because here's the thing, the Israeli flag, the Nazi flag, the rising sun flag of Japan, of Imperial Japan, and the United States flag are all sitting in the same genocidal boat. Like there's really not much material difference between the active harm that those flags and what those flags mean have caused to so many communities globally, that I can't in good faith be like, oh, that Nazi flag, you can never reform a Nazi flag. And then at the same time, like, imagine a superhero that wears red, white, and blue, that Star-Spangled Banner across his chest. And so that's my unpopular opinion, that if we're doing away with Sabra as a concept in terms of superheroes, in terms of what superheroes mean, justice, yada yada yada, then we should do away with any superhero that dons a flag on their chest in the first place. Because I just think that as socially, as a society, we've intellectually moved past that. It made sense during the 1940s when Captain America was created by Jewish people, by the way, as a sort of golem during what was going on. Yeah, Captain America was created by the Jewish people as a political protest against Nazi Germany, and that's why, like, in Captain America's very first issue, he's punching Hitler. It was it was a political decision that made sense for the time, but in the year of our Lord 2024, when we recognize that there was never really that big of an ideological difference between what the U.S. was doing and what not the Nazi Germany was about, we can do away with it. That's my unpopular opinion.
Yo, man. So I remember I had Ate come on my channel a long time ago, and we had a conversation, and we were just talking about, various media property and stuff. And he dropped this bomb on me, and I will never forget it, where he was talking about, he's like, Captain America is a terrible. I was like, what? I love Captain America. He's like, yeah, you're talking about like a super soldier wearing a flag on his chest, beating the shit out of people. I was like, oh my God, when you put it that way, you're like, he's dispatched all around the world to beat the shit out of people. He's the ultimate man. I was like, oh, like the more you really, it's like you think about Batman too long, it's really problematic real quick, It
gets weird,
It gets real weird. And so, it's like,
TJ, the difference between the very important difference between TJ and between TJ and Captain America. Not much different. The very difference between Batman and Captain America. Batman is Julius Caesar. Batman is the enlightened despot. Batman doesn't pretend to be anything else. He's an egocentric maniac who thinks that he's better for the world than anyone else who would take control. And he's often right about it. Captain America is dispatched by the U.S. government to do these things. He is not in charge. He's not the brains of the operation. He's just the muscle who's beating the shit out of people. Like that's the problem.
Yeah, and I like. I hate to say I like this, but I do like what Ate was saying about how, even like the fallback answer to that is like, well, Steve Rogers represents the best of America and what we should be, as if there's anything we should be. It's just completely made up, to fit your modern time. Like, I can be as enlightened and as compassionate, as liberal as I want. 50 years from now, I am not a cool dude. I am a backward person with horrible ideas that need to be squashed immediately. So my concept of Steve Rogers would change over time as well. And then it's kind of like you say, you liked when Steve Rogers was Nomad, and it's in a weird way that John Walker is a better representation of Captain America, because this is actually what we're going for here. And then you were talking about people who wear the stars and stripes and how that should be a tip off that it's a bad superhero. And it's funny because you immediately do it with Homelander. Like, even if you had never, before you see one scene, like, okay, this fucking guy is wearing an American flag as a cape. He's got this guy is obviously, an evil shill. But we're like, oh, it's Steve Rogers, awesome. So yeah, it's just everyone is Soldier Boy. Every hero is Soldier Boy. We just need to just accept it.
Every hero is soldier. Yeah, and there's some nuance there, right? And that thing is, I like to, because there was this really popular Jewish creator that talks about Steve Rogers, but from the perspective of like the fact that he was created by Jewish people, like during the World War II, and that he existed, and there's a reason why he's like white blonde hair, blue eyes, is because like it was it was like cool to see the idea of Hitler's perfect person turning around and punching Hitler in the face. Like I totally get it. Like that works.
Yeah.
But when you it worked in the 40s, it doesn't work
The
now.
irony is lost now. Let's we can move past it. Yeah.
It's completely gone. Like we can have a cool Steve Rogers story, and we can even have a cool story about a character who I guess used to be a government entity. But to have a story where, and this is why I really, really didn't like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because the narrative payoff for Anthony Mackie's, what is his name? Jesus Christ. Wilson. Yeah. The narrative payoff is Sam Wilson. The narrative payoff is him donning the suit and giving the senators a stern talking to. Like that's where his journey culminates. And I found that to be like really disappointing, because you spent this whole time watching how the US government and all these other governments around the world are like actively contributing to the suffering of millions when they closed down the borders after everybody came back. You see this hardship, and your problem is that it's because the senators weren't listening to the people enough.
It's so dumb.
He said, I love that speech because it's so funny and how earnest it is and how silly it is. He's like, are those people in the room with you when you guys are making those decisions? Well, maybe they should be. And then they're like, oh, geez, I'm so sorry. I never thought of it.
Oh God, very good. Yeah, that was so cheesy.
I'm so glad that you are taking, because I have been on the fuck Captain America band. Like I've been on this I've been on this since like I was in high school. Like I've never understood the appeal of Captain America. He's just a strong dude with a shield who represents America. Like, could you make a more boring superhero? No. Like Nomad is an interesting superhero. Captain America is so fucking dumb, and I wish that more people. I don't understand. I genuinely don't understand the fundamental appeal of the character. Like again, during the 40s, I get it. Nowadays, strong dude, America, cool. What the fuck?
One more point on that is that I remember when Captain America: The Winter Soldier came out, and I think a lot of progressives wanted so badly for that movie to be like this big revolutionary, film about fuck the government, communist ideals. But I've seen that movie like 9 times. I love it. It's a great film. I enjoy watching it. But politically speaking, it's tame as fuck. People were talking about it like it was like this, like the Communist Manifesto, like it was gonna, but because they'll say, oh,
it is a great movie, but the Communist Manifesto is not.
That's the film where people will be like, oh, Captain America, he took a stand. How could you say that Captain America shouldn't exist? He took a stand against the government. He doesn't represent the United States because he fought against the government in that film, and he went as a lone, ranger. And those ideas would be cool if not for the fact that when in the beginning of the film, Captain America was speaking to Nick Fury about this whole plan that they're going to have those helicarriers and they're going to be able to eliminate a lot of threats before they even start. That's really cool. That's really cool. We got some real politics going on here, right? We got some real surveillance state situation going on here. We got some quasi-fascism at play. Captain America's ideologically opposed to it. Okay, something's brewing here. And then the whole narrative is undercut when you find out halfway through the film that no, it's not the American government doing it. It's not the system. It's a bunch of Hydra troops. It's a bunch of secret Nazis. And I don't mean like Nazis in a fascist way. I mean like actual Hitler supporters that snuck into the US government. And if we just get rid of them, everything will be fine. And so the entire message was undercut halfway through the film, and it completely fell flat for me.
And you just brought you immediately, like, I thought of Ben's comment where he was like, yeah, and not to make fun of you, Ben, but like he was like, yeah, the it's a conspiracy theory. The Nazis came over from Germany. Exactly what I said. Like, that's the reductionist view that is exactly demonstrated in Captain America: Civil War, which, again, great fucking movie. Probably my favorite
It's
Marvel
amazing.
movie. Like, it is easily top 3, I think, in everyone's mind. But like, yeah, it is not Communist Manifesto. It is not. That is for sure.
I want to add one more thing in that with Hydra is that I don't. Oh my God, is Matt Powell official?
Oh shit!
Oh,
our king is back.
The king is back. But so I wanted to mention that one thing I don't like that Marvel does is the existence of Hydra. It bothers me because like they're Nazis. We all know. It's like, I mean, like, maybe you don't want to say the word Nazi in a comic book, but when literally everyone watching knows you're talking about Nazis, just to say Nazis, like John left again, but it's a World War II film. You know, you're fine. Yeah. You have references to Hitler. Just like, is Hydra worse than the Nazis? Am I supposed to believe that Hydra is somehow, you know, like these ultra Nazis or something? Just say fucking not. I don't know. It bugs me that they hide behind the Hydra thing. I don't understand.
You know what's crazy about that?
What?
You know what's crazy about that? Go back and watch the first Captain America film. You'll Red Skull. There's a scene where Red Skull, like a bunch of like other Nazi officials, come to like, because Hydra is like the research and development arm of the Third Reich. They're kind of they're under the Third Reich, but they're kind of separate, their own thing. So a bunch of Nazi officials go to like his laboratory and they're like, "What have you been doing for our Führer?" And he's like, well, "Fuck your Führer." And you know, he ends up killing them because, and then he literally says, he says something along the lines of how he doesn't ascribe to Hitler's ideology of supremacy, about how, like, or at the very least that like Hitler is misguided and he's only like using the Nazis and being that part of the Nazi party as like a way to like increase his funding for his research. And that, to me, when I saw that, like on my 5th rewatch, you know, when I was older, was disappointing, because I was like, damn, y'all couldn't even make your Nazi villains real Nazis. Like, you had to say something in there that like separated him from the Nazis in some way. I don't know why. I thought we all hated Nazis. Why aren't we celebrating them beating their ass? I'm so confused.
Yeah, who are you afraid of offending? I don't know. Oh, all right. We want to do our bumper here, John.
Yeah,
for Roll Ate. Okay, let's go.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, you are definitely not one of our least favorite subscribers. Where you are not last place, I guarantee you. But if you want to secure your standing, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave a comment, do all of those things that are going to boost us in the algorithm and show this to more people. And if you really did like what we had to say today, and you liked what our guest had to say today, Destructo Hugo, how about you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me this platform. You can find me I'm most active on TikTok at DestructoJugo. You can also find me on Instagram at DestructoJugo_, and very important, subscribe to my YouTube. That's the biggest thing I can say. YouTube DestructoJugo. I make video essays about, you know, my favorite films and TV shows. Sometimes from a political lens, sometimes from an artistic one, but I really enjoy, you know, analyzing media, and I really enjoy having conversations around media and how they intersect with our society. So, you know, if you like what you see, go ahead and drop the subscribe.
Thanks so much, guys. We really appreciate you tuning into the show today, and we are very happy to have this audience. You guys are faster, you're smarter, you're better. You are the real heroes. Thanks so much. Have a good day. All right, folks, we're cutting out of here. Matt Powell official, if you're still on, I don't know, send us a message, email us, man. We've got to set up a lot. I'd love to talk to you sometime, bro. You seem like a fascinating individual. I only know what you comment here like 5 or 6 times, but you seem to be just inscrutably weird, and I've got to know more about you. I just have to. Like John said,
See, we won't go so far as to watch your content, but we will have you on the show.
Yeah, we prefer the surprise. Like, just the nuggets you left us is intriguing enough. And he's probably not even here anymore. He's not commenting, but I don't know. We will find you, Matt and Powell official. You found us, so it's the least we could do. We'll catch you later, bro. Bye.